Man, it's been some time since you and me have sat down and talked about some GT animation, good old GT Sakuga. Of what little there is. For reasons I'm not going to go over all in this video, out of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super, GT was a little bare, had a lot of nice art, just not that much noteworthy animation. But anyway, let's dive in, let's learn something. So starting with the bad animation. If you've ever been a bit confused when like someone separates art and animation, this is the perfect example to sort of get why. Because these drawings are great. Bit of a swoopty swoop with the shading, eyes are lined up, has these roughly drawn effects around the side, like that. By all accounts, these are well structured drawings. This is clearly a professional job, which we can thank the animation supervisor Akira Inagami for, who seems to have redrawn a lot of the art by the original animator. But the motion, the way it's animated, is very unnatural. The first problem is the exact same thing I mentioned in the breakdown on that Dragon Ball Toriko One Piece special with Masahiro Shimanuki scene, where there wasn't any proper anticipation behind the hit. It was just this rigid snap between two key drawings. And yes, same here, no in-betweening either, it's just two keys. Although in this case, the animator decides to loop it, which gives this very jerky motion. Now going all the way back to the Namek arc, here's a scene by the man himself, Tadayoshi Yamamuro. And you can see as Goku and Ginyu go back and forth, there's in-betweens for one. If I remove them, this is how it would look. Pretty awkward and unnatural, right? Let's add them back in. You can also see that there's a variety in the attacks. Here it's just like punch, 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 not as interesting. Then with the cut of Goku, it's probably the most robotic yet. Like the body doesn't move together, it's just segmented. And going back to Yamamuro again, because it's, well, the first thing I thought of, we kind of have a similar thing. Two opponents on one fighter, and notice that even though his head remains still, the hair's animated, but most of all, the upper torso is like twisting. It's much more realistic. I don't know what the situation was here. Maybe it was a rookie animator, or there was not a lot of time. Maybe it was a bit of both. My guess is that it was one of the animators from Meruhen Company. If you've never heard of them, that's okay because I was in the same boat. And the rest of the staff list is made up of Dragon Ball veterans like Naotoshi Shida, Tetsuya Saiki, and Inagami himself. Safe to say, this isn't them. Although Toei animator Shuichi Iijima was also a fairly fresh face, having only about 4 episodes to his name. So yeah, it's probably amongst those three. Anyway, let's move on to a good scene. I love this. There's so much variety in the combat. There's spears, swords, hand-to-hand moves, key attacks. Very fun, which was rare for Dragon Ball at this time. Like you get a little bit of a mix in some of the early Z movies and Path to Power. That's in regards to like hand-to-hand combat with weapons and key attacks. Honestly, it's not until Super, like in the Future Trunks arc, I think you kind of see that return in the TV series itself. But yeah, with GT, the fights were based more than ever around key attacks. So this one is a nice anomaly. Now the first couple of cuts, the timing to the effects gives a smooth motion, and the impact frames in particular are really cool. Like looking at the smoke as well, these are drawn by Shingo Ishikawa, the animation director for this episode. I really like this man's style. A bit of an underrated name, probably because he didn't work on Dragon Ball, I guess, as long as others. And yeah, interesting colors, a bit different to the usual black and white impact frames, coincidentally like we actually just saw in the last cut. And then we get really started. In this case, there is good anticipation, and like, look how dynamic this is, just great posing. Then a weighty hit, more colorful impact frames, and take notice on the next part and how there's flow, very different. Because of the tight time constraints with a weekly anime like Dragon Ball, a lot of action is like split up and held on. As an example, Buu charges forward, then you linger on a cut of Vegeta talking, then cut back to a reaction shot, then back to Vegeta, then the beam attack is split over 3 cuts, and then another reaction shot to that. The action is all sort of broken up and segmented, which isn't a bad thing. But what we have here is just one continuous cut, which is harder to pull off, but gives a nicer pace. And the storyboard like really assists that. Once again, I'll reference the 99 Gon vs Hisoka fight and the Gojo vs Sukuna one, where I pointed out that the storyboard composition followed in the direction the characters were going. And there's a bit of that going on here. As Legit comes down, there's a smooth transition into the next cut. It doesn't even feel like it's separate. And then you have that sense of flow I was talking about from Goku blocking, throwing Legit then recovering and sending out a mini beam circus. It's all together, no reaction shots, no breaks. What's also clever is the animator knows he doesn't have to show logic, so he cuts him out of the frame and puts the focus on the beams. Then an extreme long shot out, salute to the storyboard artist Kakudo, perfect, there's that sense of scale, because the audience instantly sees pretty much the whole city with a massive cloud of effects roughly the same size. Makes the attack feel big. And then it's sword time. Cool design and a very unexpected flex. There's a bit of looping, which is another classic animation technique you'll see all over Dragon Ball, but what's good is that unlike a lot of the times it's used, it isn't long, it's not what half the fight is made up of. And then we see that again of a standard Dragon Ball approach, but not done in a long, drawn out way. First off with the struggle, it's real short. Okay, well, that's kind of separate to the animation. And secondly with the kick, there's a hold on a keyframe, camera shake, and a loop on the speed lines, like every tick on the box, but it's short. And also big plus for the exaggerated expressions on Goku. Then for one of the following hits, the animator gets a little sneaky here, a little clever. When you go frame by frame, boom, Goku's just a little yellow effect, hasn't even been hit yet. And then when he does, part of his body is snipped out in the same shape. Yeah, I like this, gives a little bit of a snap to the strike. Then there's the big white brush stroke, makes the path of the action extra clear. Keep in mind the background is pretty dark, so yeah, it contrasts well. It's also why the speed lines are white, otherwise it would just sort of blend in. Anyway, Legic pulls out a spear now. Honestly, I forgot how unique he was. Like being able to summon and wield multiple weapons during a fight makes for some fun action. Then a solid hit, nice easing in and out, very smooth, and a large white chalky effect, again, really easy to follow. And then it ends there. Just a nice solid 1 minute chunk of straight action, no real dialogue and like one reaction shot and execution. It's easily one of the best bits of GT action animation next to when Vegeta takes on Gohan by the Seigasha crew. Very solid, wish I could pin some actual names to it. It's also the only episode K production handles on GT, I know that, and was their last on Dragon Ball sadly. Would have been cool if they had remained for GT. Although Ishikawa does actually come back to do some animation on episode 61. Kinda reminds me of Studio Cockpit with Masanaga. Their last proper one was Z279, but him and a few others helped out in 289. But yeah, with that, thank you for watching. Check out my Patreon to support the channel, and shout out to the new member Jarrett, as well as Sol Binku in the High Roller class, and of course to all of you over there. And thank you for 50k, that came out of nowhere. Thank you for all the love, and to all the new subscribers. But with that though, yeah, thanks for watching again, and I'll see you later.